A bomb that looked like a jackfruit killed at least 2 children in a Ugandan village on Friday after being given to the children while they were playing. The explosion, which occurred in Nakaseke district, located about 60 kilometers north of the capital, Kampala, killed a 14-year-old and a second child with disabilities. The attack is the third in a week.
Islamic State has claimed responsibility for a deadly blast that killed at least one person in Uganda's capital, Kampala. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni said the bomb attack, which happened late on Saturday, seems to be a terrorist act. The militant group then claimed responsibility in a statement in an affiliated Telegram channel late on Sunday. The group said that some of its members detonated an explosive device in a bar where, quote, members and spies of the Crusader Ugandan government were gathering in Kampala. The bomb, packed with nails and shrapnel, targeted a pork restaurant on the outskirts of the capital, police said on Sunday. They said information gathered indicated that 3 men disguised as customers visited the restaurant, placed a polythene bag under a table and left moments before the explosion. The blast killed a 20-year-old waitress and wounded 3 people, 2 of whom were in critical condition, police said, adding all indications suggest an act of domestic terror.
For more on this, we are now joined by Ugandan policy analyst Allana Kembabazi. Allana, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Globe.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
How has the government and the police reacted to this recent spate of bombings in Uganda?
I think that initially there was a lot of unclear information. First of all, we were warned about this. There was a terror alert by the UK government on October 14, which they downplayed, and a lot of Ugandans did understand why. They acted like the UK government was overreacting. And then in 1 week, we had 3 explosions. They have initially changed their stories. After the first explosion, they say it was not linked to the ADF, but it seemed to be a random act, that a pork joint. They actually even blame people because we do have a 7 p.m. curfew. So they blame those who are out at night. They say, we told you we did the curfew because of insecurity. So they didn't think of it as a terror alert. Then we got the bomb, the explosion that went off on the bus, and that happened at 5 p.m. And that's when they began to talk about, this could be a terror attack, ADF elements. They began to talk about having a suicide bomber. And then on the last explosion with the kids and the jackfruit, there hasn't really been much of a reaction officially. What they're doing right now is to tell everyone, if you see anything suspicious, like a suspicious bag, because the first explosion at the bar was a polythene bag that was left there. So they're going around sensitizing in the arcades and bus packs. But the question that most of us are confused about is there's been a lot, or they've been using a lot, like they've been tracking money, and in fact were harassing civil society by claiming that they were trying to finance terror attacks, and they're using anti-money laundering law and others to, accusing them of terrorism. And this was at the height of the elections, right? Mm-hmm. So you have people like Nicholas Opio charged for that. And people are now wondering, well, you said you are doing all this to fight. How did this find you so unprepared? 2, why did you ignore the initial terror attacks? And 3, why do you wait to begin sensitizing after 3 attacks?
Yes.
And finally, for the last one, which really which affected these little kids, and is very frightening for anyone who has little kids. Why is all this happening? One of the things they say is that there seem to be sleeper cells that have been activated. If that's the case, that's very likely and very troubling. Uganda, particularly the youth, have been going through a very difficult couple of years. There are a lot of unemployed youth. And on top of that, the pandemic and the lockdowns that don't seem to end. Right now, we're still in a partial lockdown on the 7 p.m. curfew, meaning that a lot of young people are just desperate to survive and don't have jobs or are not even able to go to school. So if they are sleeper cells, it's very
Allana, I'm
easy
trying to make
recruit.
sense of, why the young children have been targeted because of these bombings. I mean, the Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the restaurant bombing attack. Are they also behind the other bombing incidents in Uganda? And what could possibly be the motive for these attacks?
Well, they claim the bus bombing as well, or at least the government has linked them to it, and hence that theory. The one about the children, and again, they don't even really call it a bombing here, but what happened with the children is what we still want the government to come out and speak very clearly to us about. But if their theory, as they've stated, that they think to be ADF sleeper cells that have been activated, then that is a very, very troubling thing. Actually, for me, what troubles me the most is the person who got onto the bus and killed himself in the process. It was a suicide bomber. We've never had that kind of thing happen. We had a bomb blast before in 2010. The perpetrators did not die in the process. This person boarded a bus and it seemed to be quite intentional, actually. Killed himself and had general in the police. So for me, the motive, I don't know. I think, historically, the ADF initially was an anti-Museveni group that began fighting. Before we saw those links to the Islamic State, or the Islamic ISIS is now claiming them, but before that came out, it's been there particularly for those of us who are older, remember when we were young, as an anti-Museveni group. It used to be in Western Uganda around Nakaseke and so forth. And of course, the sentiment against him has gone up. But the official position here has been very quick as well to deny this, to demand accountability.
Unfortunately, Allana, we are very thin on time, but just briefly, Uganda was the first African country to allow refugees from Afghanistan after the Taliban takeover. Can we draw correlations between the events that transpired in Afghanistan in recent months and to the bombings in Uganda?
I doubt. I don't want to feed that fire unless I have credible information. Yeah, again, these people who are doing this, by the way, also Ugandans. And they or at least they will have like a pay or something, but when they're trying to be traced within the communities from where they say they stay, they're not there. But they are by visual, by name, Ugandans. And again, like I say, there are many things that need to be investigated here, right? Is it sleeper cells? What is the motive? Are there links? Like there's just a whole range of things. I don't want to stoke anti-refugee sentiment.
All right, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we do appreciate your insights and for your analysis on this matter, Allana. Thanks to you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Indeed, you too. Thank you. Well, that was Allana Kembabazi. She is a Ugandan policy analyst, just speaking to us about the recent bombings in Uganda.